Hey everyone, glad you're with us on the show today. We're at Lake Spavinaw, a little hidden gem in northeast Oklahoma that has a lot of big bass and a lot of grass, so you know I like that combination. We're at that really weird time of year where the weather can't decide what it wants to be, hot or cold. It's that summer to fall transition. It's a really tough time of year, and I'm gonna show you how to catch them this week using a big topwater early and flipping that matted milfoil in the afternoon. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show today. I'm your guest host, Andrew Upshaw. I'm a two-time FLW Cup qualifier and a one-time Bassmasters Classic qualifier. Today I'm going to take you out on Lake Spavinaw. This is a little hidden gem in northeast Oklahoma that's known for its really big fish. One reason it has really big fish is the abundance of vegetation. It has a lot of water willow and a ton of milfoil. Anytime you mix milfoil with bass, you're going to get really big ones. So we're going to attack this lake with walking style topwaters first thing in the morning, and then we're going to start flipping that vegetation with a big weight and a biffle bug to try to catch one of those really big fish. Also, we'll have your fishing reports from your insider reporters from your local region. In the meantime, let me get this Z21 launched. I want to get out there and catch some fish. Let's toss it back to FSN Studios for your weekend plan.
The lunar forecast for the weekend is indicating fair conditions for both days on the water. Peak times in the morning are predicted to start before sunrise on both days and again in the evenings at 5:11 on Saturday and 6:05 on Sunday. Expect the sun to rise at 7:20 and set at 7:14. And nights will feature a waning moon that is 78% illuminated. Stay with us. We've got fishing reports from across the area on the way. Plus, I'll return with catfishing expert Chad Ferguson for this week's Ask the Pro feature.
We're out here on Lake Spavinaw, and my first impression of the lake is I absolutely love it. There's not a lot of contour change going down the bank. There's not a lot of big coves or creeks or things like that. And the grass ranges anywhere between the bank and about 8 and 9 foot of water. And there's a lot of bait in the lake already, as I can tell. You know, it's partly cloudy today. We got some wind, which always helps that grass bite. Anytime it gets dead calm and high suns this time of year, the bite is gonna be kind of difficult. So you wanna fish the days that are best conditions, and today is one of those days. We're gonna catch a lot of bass today, throwing swim jigs, crankbaits, things like that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and toss it to commercial break. I'm gonna get ready to go catch me some big old bass.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by MotorGuide's new wireless and easy-to-use XI3. XI batteries powering the world forward. Waypoint Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist. And Strike King, designed by the pros, fished by you.
Topwater walking bait. You know you're throwing the right color when they eat your topwater just like that. There's one. Oh, I got him. Oh, jeez, that's a good one. Fishing this grass point right here with a topwater bait. Notice a couple real big gizzard shad surfacing here. And this one just came up and annihilated topwater walking bait. You know you're throwing the right color when they eat your topwater just like that. If you notice right here, I've got a really small leader of mono right here. It's a 17-pound leader tied to a 30-pound braid. And I get a lot of questions why you do that. So let's try to not hook myself right here. Unhook this fish. I mean, he was hooked good. Those mustads had him hooked really, really good. Okay. But the reason you do that is for two reasons. First off, you can tie a really small loop knot to your topwater. So when you're throwing a walking topwater, I've always found it best to tie a small, super small loop knot to give that topwater just a little bit more action when you're running it through the water. And the second reason is braid has a tendency to wrap around that first hook when you're casting out and walking it. And most of the time you can't get it undone. that little bit harder mono will stay out in front of your bait long enough that you can, you won't hook that. And even sometimes when it does hook, you can get it unhooked by walking it really hard. But not a bad fish to start out the morning. Throwing this topwater walking bait, one of the #1 things I always have tied on this time of year is a topwater walking bait, especially in this bone color. Bone is a great thing, great color to throw, especially in overcast conditions like we have today. We got some rain out in the distance. This is what you're gonna catch when you throw this walking topwater. We'll go ahead and release this fish real quick. I wanna talk about my setup real quick. Right here, I have a 7.5-to-1 Team Lose Hyper Mag. The Hyper Mag is my real choice. I mean, it's pretty much what I throw all the time. Comes in a couple gear ratios, 7.5-to-1, 8.3-to-1. But the thing about the Hyper Mag is you can make bomb cast. I mean, you can cast it as far as you want to, and that's extremely important when throwing that walking topwater, because sometimes you'll see them schooling in the distance. And this time of year, I always have this topwater tied on so I can make those long casts. But as you know, like I'm throwing braid here, so I'm throwing 30-pound braid. I'm throwing a 6'9" square bill crankbait rod. You know, I experimented a lot with braid in the beginning, like when everybody started using it, and I was throwing a little bit too stiff of a rod, and I was losing a lot of fish, and I didn't really know why. But the more I experimented with the technique, throwing a topwater with braid, with that really small mono leader, I realized that I needed a rod that was about 6'9" to 7 foot, and this square bill crankbait rod in our custom series is perfect. It has just enough tip action to where you can walk the bait and load up when you hook a fish, but enough backbone to really set those hooks really good in that fish's mouth. So next time you're on the water, make sure you always have a bone colored walking style bait, whether it's a spook, a sexy dog, whatever it may be. Have that thing tied on your deck, and you're gonna put a couple extra bass in the boat. In the meantime, I'm gonna go try to catch me another one.
Hey, most of our larger lakes here in the state had an excellent shad hatch this year, and now those shad are at a size and are really grouped up in large tight balls to make them extremely accessible for game fish to ambush. A great ambush spot is around docks, and that's exactly what Kyle Cordiana and his dad were looking for when they went recently to Lake Texoma targeting crappie. Using his Lowrance sonar unit, Kyle found docks in 20 to 25 foot of water that he was seeing brush around and underneath with crappie concentrations in it, and then they were skipping or shooting the Bobby Garland crappie shooter back up underneath there. He said most of the bites came in that top 8 foot of water, and as you can see, the quality and the quantity were both good. He said the best colors were green sunfish and electric chicken, and they rigged that bait 2 different ways: flat so it looked and felt more like a dying fluttering shad, and upright so it looked more like a swimming shad. Both rigging options seem to be doing about equally well on this particular outing. Now, dock shooting for crappie is going to only continue to get better as we get deeper into the fall and will last well into November. Great way to catch crappie this time of year, and you can catch them doing that, but you can't catch them if you don't go.
They're schooling everywhere. So many fish. All right, I got one trying to eat it. It got it. You see that shad jump out of the water? That's a good one. I don't know what it is. Oh, I think it got me a white bass. Nice Oklahoma white bass right here. You never know what you're gonna catch on a spook style bait. Literally these fish, if you can zoom all around us, these fish are schooling everywhere up here. They're feeding on shad. When you have these overcast days like we have today, you're gonna have a lot of schooling fish here in September, October timeframe. And if you wanna just take your kid out fishing, best thing you can do is tie them on a walking style bait or a rattle trap or a square bill or something like that, and get around these schooling fish, and you're gonna put a lot of fish in the boat, especially early in the morning. Early in the morning is the key here. I mean, not a bad little white bass. Lots of fun. I mean, look at them, they're just going crazy everywhere. I mean, kids love to catch fish, and this is a great time to be out fishing if you just want to go catch a lot of different species. Oh, he's got me down on the grass. This is where that braid is extremely important, because you can get them up out of that grass. Oh, that's a good one. There's one. Oh, he's got me down in the grass. This is where that braid is extremely important, is you can get them up out of that grass and winch them in. And as you can tell, the 6'9" rod is still plenty strong enough to pull that bass out of the grass right there and get them in the boat. This is a perfect example of why you gotta have this walking topwater on the deck. This fish came up busting in front of us. This is a true bonus fish right here. Walking that topwater, making sure you can get that fish in the boat with just a 6'9" square bill rod. I mean, this grass is super thick. As you can see, look down in the water right here. There's mats of grass everywhere. But having that braided line with enough tip on this rod is gonna allow you to get that fish in the boat. I wanna tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. We're on Lake Spavinaw here in northeast Oklahoma. It's one of the only lakes up here in Oklahoma that has grass. It's really easy to get to. It's right off the turnpike going towards Grand Lake. There's also another lake called Lake Uchi, which is right down the lake chain from this. It's another really good lake, has a lot of really big bass. So if you're in the area, you want to get away from just your mainstay lakes like Grand Lake, Kingkill, or some of those others, and you want to fish some grass, come over here to Lake Spavinaw. I think you're going to have a really good time. I'm sure having a good time, and I'm hoping they're going to come back schooling again.
This week's Lone Star Lakes is brought to you once again by the friendly folks at Breckland Ranch. Family owned and family operated, Breckland would like to invite your family out to hunt this season, and remember, kids hunt free with a paid adult. Now this week we've come way out to West Texas, just outside of Lubbock, to show you that there are still some lakes that have full pool levels. We've talked a lot about the drought and how it's affected those West Texas lakes. This is Buffalo Springs Lake, just outside the town of Lubbock, and it is at full pool. Buffalo Springs has great fishing for bass, crappie, and catfish. You'll find the bass on top as the weather cools with your buzz baits and your pop-ars and your frog type baits around the vegetation, or you can fish the boat docks with your spinner baits, Cincos, and square bills. For the crappie, you'll want to look for the brush piles that the residents have planted throughout the lake. Gather up 3 or 4 of those on your graph, mark your waypoints, then go back and check them out with your crappie jigs or your crappie rigs with minnows. And finally, for catfish, you can fish from some of the bank locations simply using your prepared catfish baits. That's been this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you once again by the good folks at Breckland Ranch. Plan your hunt for this season and follow us, Lone Star Lakes, on Facebook.
Hi, I'm Captain Joey Ferry with your South Texas Regional Report, brought to you by Waypoint Marine, Waterloo Rods, DOA Lures, and of course Marker 37 Marina right here on the Laguna Madre. This week, folks, we're concentrating all of our fishing down in Baffin Bay, where we have jumped into the fall season and the water clarity is gin clear. We're using soft plastics in and around those natural rock formations on the south shoreline as well as the Rocky Slough area. These big rock piles are holding some monster trout that we're watching come out from underneath the rocks in that beautiful clear water. Some of our favorite baits is the DOA Airhead. This is a shad imitation with a profile matching exactly a natural migrating shad which come out of the bays during the fall season towards the Gulf, and also the DOA 5.5 jerk shad. It's a very versatile bait with lots of action. As we get closer to the winter and more cold fronts come in, the land cut's going to turn on more and more as water temperatures drop. All the fish drop into that deep channel. We're going to catch black drum, flounder, speckled trout, and redfish on live shrimp and lures in the land cut in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned. Follow all of our hookups on Facebook at Captain Joey Ferry's Backwater Fishing.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by NITRO Performance Fishing Boats. Champions aren't born, they're made. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama. Plan your fishing vacation and catch the details at orangebeach.com/fishing. And Lowrance and the new Hook 2, the world's easiest fish finder.
Now, that's how you do it right there. Look at the amount of grass. Here's a good one. Oh, stay down, baby. God, a long ways out there. Hey everybody, welcome back to Fox Sports Outdoors. It's been kind of a grind today. Kind of figured out a little deal with the topwater, walking topwater first thing this morning. Hopefully we can get this fish in the boat. As you can tell, there's a lot of grass on this fish. That's the importance of using good braided line so you can flip these things right on in the boat. Now, that's how you do it right there. Look at the amount of grass. So you can't tell me that having braid as your main line isn't extremely important. If I'd have had straight mono on here, the line would have had extremely too much stretch, and this fish would have been able to bury me down in the grass and then pull off. This fish buried me down in the grass, but I was able to put some more tension on him, cut through that milfoil, and get the fish out of the grass. And see how easy it cuts against that braid? Big old pile of milfoil there. Had the bass stuck extremely well. And that's what you're looking for when you're out here throwing a big topwater on the edge of the grass. I mean, what we're looking for here on Lake Spavinaw is we're fishing on the edge of the matted milfoil and fishing the more scattered, clumpier edges of it. So you'll see the mats way up in front of us. There's a ton of big mats out there. We're fishing that scattered clump where they're chasing bait, chasing shad, and they're roaming this big flat on this end of the lake. And let me go ahead and tell you, this end of the lake has a ton of grass and a ton of bait. This is just gonna get better and better over the next 2 months. So if you can, get out here. Yeah, that's not the biggest bass I've ever caught, but it was a fun fight and a good fish to catch on the topwater, because any fish we catch on the topwater is a lot of fun.
Hey friends, Cajun Phil here with the Fox Sports Southwest Louisiana Fishing Report. I tell you what, let's start off with the bass fishing. We want to mention that Lacassine Wildlife Refuge closes October the 15th. Keep in mind, that don't give you but a little bit of time to get out there, get you one of them big old marsh bass that have been catching out of Lacassine. We also want to mention that our call guides in Delacroix, Hopedale, Shell Beach, Houma, Venice, Cocodrie. I call all of my guide friends. They're all catching redfish right now. A few of them are catching speckled trout. Most of them are targeted redfish. I said you can throw a Gold Johnson spoon out there and catch them, throw plastic. Some of them, of course, being caught on live bait under popping cork. Here on the western part of the state, Calcasieu Lake, all of our guides had a great week this week, not only catching speckled trout, but redfish. Not a lot of trout, not big old limits, but they catch it. Well, yeah, you're going to catch 40, 50, 100 a day, but you're going to get about 25 nice, good trout. And also the redfish bite has really been on. Live bait's been the best. Keep in mind, live shrimp's working here on Calcasieu Lake. Get out there and get you some. Till next week, this is old Cajun Phil for Captain Kevin, who's out there fishing, saying happy fishing, may God bless you. You know what? We're going to see you next week right here on Fox Sports Southwest. Bye-bye.
Today on Lake Spavinaw, one of my key baits to catching a couple of really nice fish was flipping a 1 ounce weight with a Jingaroo biffle bug in green pumpkin blue. On the tail end of that, I was putting a little bit of chartreuse. This looked just like the bluegill that were in the water. I was using a 4/0 grip pin mustad straight shake flipping hook, attached a 20-pound line leader with 50-pound line braid. And for whatever reason, whenever I'm on a clear body of water, I really like flipping that leader. I think it gets you a lot more bites, but you still have the backbone and strength of that braid. What I'm doing right here is I was actually flipping this outside edge where I could barely see it with my Costa sunglasses underneath the water, and I'd see these little bitty holes, and I was flipping that biffle bug in those holes, and my best bite of the day, I flipped up in there. It just kept going, and that's one thing that you're gonna notice when you're flipping that bait. Sometimes they're gonna eat it on the drop, and sometimes it takes them to shake it every once in a while. Today, they wanted to eat it on the drop. It was a reaction style bite. As soon as that bait went in there, they ate it, set the hook, caught that fish. And you know what? Next time you're on the body of water where you have some matted grass like matted milfoil, matted hydrilla, pick you up a biffle bug. It's a two-prong approach. It's a soft body so that hook penetrates it very easily, and you can put a scent or a rattle up inside of it to get you that extra bite or two.
You can always watch our latest episode on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Catch up on past episodes by clicking the archive button and learn about fishing techniques and new gear at our how-to page. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for new fishing videos every day. Simply search for Fox Sports Outdoors and click the like button on Facebook and follow button on Twitter. And watch a new episode every week on any device by downloading the free Waypoint TV app on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lew's. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland. We know bass and crappie from heads to tails. And by GLACIER Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Ask the Pro question. This week, Shannon asks, what is the best way to find shad to catch with my bait net? For the answer, we got some help from catfishing expert Chad Ferguson.
The best way to find shad is to use your fish finder. Get out on the water, watch side imaging or down imaging sonar, and look for what looks like large cotton balls in the water. That's going to be large groups of threadfin shad. They're pretty easy to find once you learn how to spot them. Now, if you don't have a fish finder or you're not real confident in reading your fish finder, one of the simple old-time tricks that really works well for finding shad is to go out at night and throw your cast net up around lights. Any kind of marina lights, lighted boat docks, street lights shining over the water, shad will congregate to those lights after dark, and it's a super simple way to find and catch shad for a good portion of the year, if that's what you need to do.
Thanks, Chad. If you have a question for one of the pros, visit our website, click on the Ask the Pro link, and send it in. Now stay with us to see the latest Big Catch of the Week winner.
This week's winner in the Big Catch of the Week contest is Noel Ibarra of Tawakoni, Texas, showing off a giant 62-inch king mackerel he caught out of Port O'Connor, Texas. To enter the contest, go to foxsportsoutdoors.com, click the Big Catch of the Week box on the right side of the home page, and follow the instructions to send in your big fish photo. Today on Lake Spavinaw, I had a two-prong approach. First off, I was flipping a Gene LaRue biffle bug with a 1-ounce sinker, and I was targeting holes on the grass that I could see on my depth finder. So I'm kind of rolling around the outside edge of this grass, trying to stay in as deep a water as I possibly could, flipping a green pumpkin blue biffle bug with a 7.5-to-1 hyper mag, a Lew's hyper mag, and a 7.6 heavy action rod. I really like that 7.6 heavy action rod. This is a custom pro. It has a little bit of tip, but a lot of backbone. So when you hook a really big fish in that cover, you're gonna be able to get him out with this rod and reel setup. 50-pound braid to a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader was what I used on this setup. But one thing that really put a lot of fish in the boat today, and it's not a surprise whatsoever, is just a walking style bait. This happens to be a sexy dog. It's in a bone color. This is a bait that I keep on my deck 24/7, especially in the late summer, early fall. These fish have a tendency to school this time of year, and that's what I was targeting with this, is every time I would see a shad blow out of the water, big gizzard shad jump, or even some disruption in the water from bass actually chasing the shad, I would throw this sexy dog out there. I'm throwing it on 50-pound braid again with a 17-pound mono leader, but as you can tell, this is a really short leader, 7.5-to-1 gear ratio reel. I want something really fast. A square bill crankbait rod. Here's the big secret. The square bill crankbait rod is the deal for throwing that top water because it allows that bait to load up on the fish without pulling it out of their mouth. And that's extremely important with a smaller diameter hook, is you don't want to overwhelm that fish whenever you hook it and make a really big hole in their mouth. This is going to allow you to stick those fish a lot better and get them out of that cover. But this was a big thing this week. Top water this time of year is always the way to catch a lot of big fish. Hey, thanks for joining us on this week's episode. I hope you learned how to find and catch them here on Lake Spavinaw. Barry's back next week. Until next time, I'll see you on the water.